Wynter Tai chats Hongakyun with Sifu Jacob Brinnand. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and before we get into things, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and throw me a comment from time to time, whether you like things or not. So, let's get into it. On this episode of Chats, we get to speak with an exponent of multiple styles of martial arts, and those include Balintawak Kali, Penchak Silat, kickboxing, and Hongakyun. He is the head instructor at Cypress Barker Premier Martial Arts, located in Houston, Texas, and has dedicated his life to sharing the arts as they have a positive influence on self-confidence, resiliency, and problem solving. Please welcome Sifu Jacob Brinnand.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very happy to be here. Sifu Wynter, I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for allowing me for the opportunity to speak with you today. I will do my best to make this as enjoyable and honest and educational as possible.
And I am very sure that you will, Sifu Brinnand. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your family day to speak with me and give me your insights. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take you straight into it. What's with the first question, sir? How did you start the martial arts, sir?
You know, a lot like everybody, I started when I was really little, and I really loved the martial arts. I always did. I mean, I think soccer, I think football, I think baseball and swimming, I think these are amazing, and I think they help our children in many ways. But for me, while I had a lot of friends, I also found myself to be very creative. So I found time, in my backyard, in my imagination and everything like that. And, it started out with anime, really. And anime, when I was a little kid, had a really big impact on me, and between Thundercats and Dragon Ball. It was Dragon Ball back then, not Dragon Ball Z, not that. It was Dragon Ball. So between Dragon Ball, Thundercats, the Ronin Warriors. I don't know if you ever heard of the Ronin Warriors, but the Ronin Warriors was an old anime from the early 80s. And these things were super inspiring to me. And I just honestly loved anime culture. And, I also played a lot of action RPG games. And those always had a superhero. So I wanted to be that superhero. And what better way to do that than to be martial arts? See, because martial arts is more of a solo thing. A lot of kids use this terminology nowadays called Sigma, kind of the lone male that, and that's how I kind of saw it, is that I like being part of a pack. But when I was by myself, I found myself kicking, punching, trying to be like the characters that I would watch from Shaw Brothers, things like Shaw Brothers movie stars. When I would be homesick, I would always watch Kung Fu movies. And back then, this, in the, in the 90s and in that period of time, Kung Fu was the biggest craze. So I would rent Kung Fu movies and watch anime, and it just really inspired me, and it had a big effect on me. The problem is that when I was little, I would jump between schools. I would go to a karate school or this school. It was very hard to find an authentic teacher. That didn't really happen until more or less later. So I bounced in between schools over and over again until I was a young man. And then when I was a young man, I found Great Grandmaster Y.C. Wong, and the rest became history. That followed me down true lineage, true teachings, and things like that.
Okay, and that's Grandmaster Y.C. Wong of Hongakyun.
Yeah. Yu Ching Wong, Great Grandmaster Y.C. Wong. Opened up a school in 1967 in Chinatown, San Francisco. And he was an amazing mentor, a man that I greatly admired, a man that in many ways I followed in his footsteps, meaning that even in my life choice, I teach full time. I don't have another job. This is my job. This is how I pay my bills. This is what puts a roof over my head. And he had a profound effect on my life. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, great. That's great. Of course, he had such an effect that you do carry on his legacy, and then that has to be such an effect, of course. So if you don't mind me asking, did you start because you also have extensive experience in other martial arts as well, like Filipino martial arts, Thai martial arts as well. So did you started this after you went to
Yeah, yeah. See,
um,
the it wasn't intentional. Let me just say this. It wasn't intentional. In 2011, I tried to open up my own school on 16th and Mission in San Francisco. And the day I opened up my school, my Kung Fu brother Ken brought in, he had a friend who was a Zen monk, and the Zen monk owned a bookstore, a bookstore about this, Zen and spirituality and just antique books, really. And he owned a bookstore, and in that bookstore was a man who was a master of Taoism and Hinduism, and he was a master of Pencak Silat and Wing Chun, and he was a Navy SEAL. So on the day I opened up my school, my Kung Fu brother was talking to his friend saying, "Hey, Jake, that's what, my close friends call me. Hey, Jake opened up his own Kung Fu school, and I'm going to go check it out. I'm really proud of him." Out from the corner pops this man who was in his early 70s, always wore glasses on and a hat, even at nighttime, never showed his face. A big, daunting man, about 6'2", always wears camouflage. He kind of looks like a vagabond. He is kind of a vagabond in a lot of ways. He is a nomad in a lot of ways. And he goes, "Oh, you know Kung Fu? Who is Jake? Take me to his school." And he goes, "Well, hey, listen, he's a Kung Fu guy from YC Wong." He's like, "Oh, I know YC Wong. He's an old time person who lived in the Bay." He's like, "Oh, I know him. I met him over 40 years ago and blah, 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 blah. Let me meet your Kung Fu brother." So on the very first day I opened up my school, a master who's hidden from the world, no social media, none of that, brought in Pencak Silat. And at first I was intimidated by him. I'm like, here I am on the first day I open up my damn school, and here comes this daunting man, who I said, "What type of martial arts do you learn?" He didn't even say it was Silat. I didn't find out till later. He pulled out a knife and he hit the switchblade and he goes, "I teach knife fighting." And he's, a 70-year-old man with glasses and a hat looking at me pulling out a blade the first day I opened up my school. I said, "Who the hell is this?" It made me a little uncomfortable. And then he started demonstrating what he knew, and it was pretty profound. It wasn't anything like I've ever seen before. So Silat fell in my lap. And then much later on, I spent many years with him, along with teaching publicly, and then I moved to Southern California. After about 12 years of doing Hung Ga and many years in Pencak Silat, I felt like I was good at forms. From Kung Fu, I was good at forms, and Silat taught me combat drills. And then in Southern California, right outside of my house, came Kathy Long. Kathy Long started doing lessons, and what I mean by right outside of my house, I'm talking about a 2-minute drive. And so she was a master of Kung Fu and a 5-time world champion. So the way I saw it was this. In martial arts, I believe there's 4 pillars. I believe there's forms, drills, sparring, and weapons. So in my Kung Fu, I felt like I understood forms and power. From Silat, I felt like I understood drills. So then there was this person who was a master of fighting, a 5-time world champion, and a master of Kung Fu. So I thought, maybe this person can understand my Kung Fu and understand the gap that I have between sparring and help me to use my Kung Fu and to use this knowledge that she did and bring them together. Like, how can I use Kung Fu against a talented Muay Thai fighter? How do I use my Kung Fu against? And so she says, well, in order to learn it, you got to learn kickboxing. So I learned Kathy Long kickboxing. And then last but not least, I was in Danny Nasanto's school studying, and there was a seminar for Balintawak Arnis Eskrima. And so I met Great Grandmaster Chris Bulloa, who after meeting him, he also lived about 20 minutes away from me. So I surrounded myself in the second part of my history with Kathy Long and Great Grandmaster Chris Bulloa. So the first half of my journey was Great Grandmaster YC Wong and a nomad Penchak Silat player. And then on the second half, I was teaching, but while I was teaching, I also decided I must surround myself with men and women who know more than me. I can't say that I know everything. That is a selfish thing. So I surrounded myself with these two masters, and I spent many years with them, to which we all keep in contact on a daily basis.
Awesome. That is awesome. So if you don't mind me asking, so give me if you could, give me a time span. So what do you think? From YC Wong, from the beginnings of your Hung Gar learnings to Arnis, to where you're...
It's about half. So with YC Wong, I formally started with him in 2005, the beginning of 2005. So we're coming up near December, so almost 21 years. Half of this time was spent with the first two masters, and the other half was spent with the other two. This is about give or take. There might be a couple years of inactivity there, give or take, within there. That's about an estimate that I could roughly say.
Since 2005. Wow, that's very good though.
Yeah.
That's
Now give or take, right? I'm not getting exact months and exact. I'm just saying that I started with yeah.
No problem. So, with an extensive knowledge base that you have, with a wide number of years as well experienced, I do feel very comfortable in asking you this, especially being educated from Grandmaster YC Wong himself. Right? What is Hung Gar Kyun Sifu?
This is a really good question. First and foremost, it has an amazing history. And one, before we discuss anything, before I discuss spirituality or what it means personally, one must always observe the Hung Kyun lineage. It is vastly important to keep your history. It starts with Abbot Jisin Samsi, Gongji Fukwu, and some of the original forms lasted since the founder of Shaolin. And not only one of the founders, one of the five elders, not only one of the five elders, but the abbot himself. Let's just acknowledge first that the abbot of Shaolin was a practitioner of Hung Gar. That Hung Gar was used in down with Qing, in with Ming. Yes, it was used to fight for independence. So it overthrew the government, the corrupt government. Okay, it went through many figureheads. It went through the 10 tigers of Canton. It went through Wang Qiying. Wang Qiying was one of the 10 tigers of Canton, and then it went to Wang Feihong. Now, in figures like Wang Feihong, we went to the 160th anniversary of Wang Feihong in 2007, where there was a worldwide gathering of masters from all over the world, and that was a wonderful event. Amongst were Shaw Brothers movie stars and the figureheads of almost every major branch. It was a tremendous occasion. Now, Wang Feihong is very important because he wasn't a thug. He wasn't a criminal. He wasn't a murderer. He was benevolent. He was kind. He was a healer, a doctor. So, when I was in Guangdong, they would say benevolence and martial virtue together is held very high in that old culture. A lot of things now, let's just say this right now. No, don't get me wrong. I love mixed martial arts. I practice mixed martial arts. I practice kickboxing. I'm not saying anything, but we're worshiping violence. We're worshiping violence. Oh, did you see that mother effer get knocked out? Did you see that? And we love it. Ooh, who's the baddest? And it's as I get older, that seems so childish. When I was younger, it seemed important. It seems so childish when I get older. But Wong Fei Hung was admired for being a doctor, somebody who's benevolent, and also a master of martial arts. So somebody who has kindness and strength together. And these are the people that are almost worshipped in the lineage. And then there's Lum Sai Wing, a massive pillar of strength. Of course, there's other lineages that have their traditions and their history. I'm just talking of my own. And then there's from Lum Sai Wing, there's Lum Zhou. Lum Zhou was my Qigong. I met Lum Zhou when he was 98, 97, 98 is when I met him. And he came out always in a three-piece suit with a big fat ring. And he would come out in even on his deathbed, they'd tell the doctors, watch out, because he has iron palm. He was in a massive figurehead, and a strong male figure, deep, raspy voice, and very masculine, powerful. And one of Lum Zhou's greatest students was, of course, my Sifu Y.C. Wong. Now, Y.C. Wong was also once you spent time with him, you proved worthy. He was very kind and very strong. And he walked the walk and talked the talk. So Hung Ga for me is built on the pillar of giants. How many men are kind and strong right now in this world? We are selfish. We are self-centered. We are egotistical. Men like this are rare. So when we say Hung Ga, I see the love I have for my teachers, the love I have for the passion that these men dedicated their lives towards. So that's what Hung Ga. Hung Ga is a living thing. It's also something that has helped my students. It's a living thing. It's not something to be just slapped on a wall and worshiped. It is a living art. And it lives in the heart of you and everybody who decides to carry it. It lives in the heart of those who decide to bring it forward into this world. That's how I see Hung Ga.
And that's a very good point. It's a very good point that you do bring up there, Sifu Brinnand. A lot of people don't really look at martial arts like that, and it's a very important aspect that they should be looking at it, because in that respect, that's how you keep martial arts alive, right? Martial arts are a living thing, just like us, and we are exactly what keeps it alive. So if no one practices it, well, that's how it goes dead. But another way of it going dead is, as with every living thing, life changes, and so does.
But Sifu, the thing is that how many people see kindness and strength together? How often does that exist in the world right now?
That's true. It's something rare that's going on in the world today. True, but to bring it back to the interview, right? I do see that Hung Ga, from the way how you answered, is a Shaolin martial art.
Yes.
But my question is, right, to go a little bit more deeper than just being a Shaolin martial art, why is it called Hung Kyun? Like, is it Hung Ga? Like, from what family was this?
Right. Well, so Hung is a surname, right?
Yeah.
Hung is a last name. Kyun really means so God, a family, and then so the Hung family. Just like you could have the Winter Fist. Yeah. Like if you started a system, it would be the Winter Fist. And so just the Hung family fist. Yeah, Hung is just a surname. It's just the last name. So, uh, uh, you know, over time, it has evolved. Okay, so in the beginning, we don't have as many sets as we had today. For example, Wang Feihong added Fuhawk Shonyinkyun, which is the tiger crane double pattern fist. And in that fist style, it has a lot of the elements of the 10 Tigers. It has Hop Ga, because there was a Hop Ga master in the 10 Tigers of Guangdong. It's got drunken style. One of the 10 Tigers, Beggar Su, was of that drunken style. So it has in it. So over time, Lum Sai Wing added material, Wang Fei Hong added material, Lum Zhou added material. So other systems have different forms because obviously the knowledge has been carried down and different systems have added different forms. For me, the four main pillars are Gongji Fu, conquering the tiger, Fuok Shou Yin Kyun, tiger crane double pattern fist, Sup Yin Kyun, five animals and five elements, and Tid Sen Kyun, Iron Wire, which is the name of my school, which I call Iron Wire Martial Arts. These are the four pillars. Now, there's also a lot of weapons. You have the Guangdong, Taekwondo, you have Dao, you have the Gim, you have all these different weapons, but some have been added from different teachers. So different branches can also have different flavors of doing it. Yeah. So a lot of us have a tendency, and I'm sure you can notice this as well, Sifu Wynter, that we want to copy our teachers exactly. We want to look, a lot of the times when you're learning, you try to emulate their mannerisms sometimes, the way they do it. Through time, through experience, you realize that it's the principles that matter, not just imitation. Why are we doing? If you don't have an understanding of why you are doing it, then you're an imitation. You're a copy. You must understand what you're doing.
Very good point. Very good point. Very good point. So, so let me ask you for the second part of this question, right? So, how effective would you say is Hong Kyun for self-defense or fighting?
It depends on your conditioning. Now, this is a very good question. I do a Hung Ga application. I post it on YouTube. You disagree. You say, that's not the way my teacher taught me. That's not the way that I was shown. That's not the way it was done 300 years ago. That's not this, that, but is it effective? But is it effective? So we could take tradition, but it is also, as we discussed, a living thing. We could take tradition and then what is your conditioning? Is your conditioning just to follow, or are you going to weaponize? How can this be used? In what ways can this be used? How many ways can this be used? Can it be done under this situation? What about pressure testing? Can it be done? How would it be used against a Muay Thai fighter? Let's have a Muay Thai fighter fight. What conditions does this work? And then it depends on your conditioning, the way you train. If you don't weaponize it, if you just, I'm going to say this out loud, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what anybody's opinion is. If you just practice forms and you don't weaponize, if you don't extract, if you don't pressure test, it will be more difficult for you. I don't care if all you do is practice forms day in and day out. When the time comes, I'm not talking about a beginner, but a talented fighter who knows distance, range, timing, speed. If you have never trained for that, I'm sorry, but you're going to be in some deep water.
And I agree with that. I agree with that. It's training to specificity as well. If you want to fight, fight. If you want to do forms, do forms.
Right.
So it all depends on what you want to do. Of course, I tell my students that as well. If you want to,
see, but Wynter, it's like this. One technique. Let's take one technique from Choi Lei Foot, from Tai Chi, from Hung Ga. There's one technique, a movement. Let's just take that movement. How many ways can we use it? Under what situations can we use it? Can we pressure test it? What other ways can it be done? What would we do against Thai fighter? What we can do? Let's actually put it in motion. Let's make it a living art. That is what we're doing. And if one doesn't do that, my belief, it will be more difficult. If you agree.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I definitely agree 100% with you. So the effectiveness of Hung Ga definitely depends on your, or Hung Ga or any
Yes.
fighting art, period.
Yeah.
Right? Literally, it just depends on your conditioning, how you train it. I like, yep, I'm for it. I'm 100%.
Right, Sifu, because look, like let's say everybody talks about Thai boxing being amazing. Now listen. I studied Kathy Long kickboxing, which is elements of Thai boxing, and I'm teaching my students who are winning competitions. We fight. We go to competitions and we fight. My little ones fight and my teenagers fight, and we just had a smoker boxing match. We fight. Okay, we fight other schools. We fight all of that stuff. The point is that I can say Thai boxing is the greatest, but if your conditioning is to just hit the bag and do all the moves, you say this, I memorized all the moves of Thai fighting. Does that make you a good fighter? Absolutely not. You can memorize all the moves of Thai fighting, but if you never condition it to fighting, then you're just copying somebody else. You didn't learn a thing. You learned how to copy.
That's true. That's exactly what you're doing. You're copying and you're becoming a copy yourself. All right. That's very good. I'm loving how this interview is going, sir. I love the passion. I love the answers. So, to keep that passion going, right, and to get more into your psyche right now, Sifu Brinnand, I have to ask, knowing that the term kung fu is it can mean skill, you know? What do you believe is the hardest part of developing kung fu?
Kung Fu was once said by somebody from Siulam, Shaolin, is something I resonate with. He says it removes the dross of one's character, meaning the superfluousness, meaning the excess stuff. And what I mean by that is that the way of the warrior, the way of the warrior is through hard work. This is our way. We don't sit around eating ice cream, wishing that the world was all sunshine and rainbows. We know that the world is hard. We know it's hard. We know that to get ahead in life takes hard work. We know to survive takes hard work. Don't avoid that hard work, because inside of the hard work is the lessons you need. The easy road gets harder. The harder road gets easier. Take the right way, take the hard way. You will have the lessons you need to survive. And not only that, but going through that hard work will lead you to transformation. It will lead you to transformation because you realize that this juvenile attitude, these attitudes of just being lazy, that wishing everything was given to you, money, inheritance, all this stuff is a lie. You earn it. You get what you earn in life. That's the way of things. Don't avoid what is hard. So we could say kung fu, but we see it. The way of the warrior is not to avoid what is difficult. It is to walk through it head on in any way, shape, or form that may be. So that to me is hard work. That is hard work. That is meditation of hard work, which is what kung fu means. That is a meditation on hard work, which is what kung fu means. So if you can be a practitioner of kung fu and yet you crumble every time life gets hard, then you did not learn kung fu.
Very good. That's a very good statement right there. If you crumble once adversity shows its head, you have not learned kung fu.
Correct. That is a true, but that is a true statement. That is a true statement. That is an honest statement, because kung fu is hard. It is the way of hard work. There are many ways. There are many ways to freedom. There are many ways to happiness. The way of the warrior is hard work. That is the way of things. That is the way of the warrior. Period. It is hard work. That's what kung fu means. By definition, it means hard work. So why are we talking about all this other stuff? Look at what the teachers were saying. Look at what they told you. It is hard. Walk towards that.
Kung fu itself is hard work.
Yes, to learn kung fu is hard work.
That quote that you had said before, that it removes the excess of the body. I believe that is such an incredible quote right there, Sifu Brinnand. It's awesome. It's awesome because it's very true. Everything that you're saying, all the training that you have to go through, everything, it just literally cuts all the slack, cuts all the dead weight that you don't need. So I'm understanding you. I'm definitely
You
understanding
know,
you.
Steve Winter, you want to be you not one wants to be, but we're working towards um, hard work. What happens when you just want to drink and smoke? What happens when you just want to slack off and take the easy way? There's no lessons learned. There's nothing there for you. So you do go through a transformation. Kung Fu inherently is transformative. Doing what is difficult will transform you. It has to. And so that is what Kung Fu is, in my opinion.
That too, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for sharing that. So let's go ahead and move on into our next question, sir. With your extensive training and your extensive experience in the martial arts, that said training, how has it influenced your life, both personally and professionally?
Well, fear consumes a lot of people's mind. Fear, desire, wanting. Well, this consumes a lot of our minds. A lot of us live in a place of fear. The training in martial arts teaches you to have a center, teaches you that when I've been through hardship, I can handle this no matter what life throws at me. So in your personal life, no matter how hard things get, the lesson is to always get up. The lesson is to trust what's inside. The lesson is that exactly who you are is complete. Keep going. Don't give up and be strong. Be strong. This is so important in one's personal life. You know, I work with children every day, Sifu Winter, and I see these kids, and a lot of them, they're scared to step out onto the mat. A lot of them are looking at their cell phones all day. A lot of them have an insecurity about the way they look or being liked. I have teenagers that say, "Hey, do you think my haircut is okay? Do you think my shoes are cool?" And they have they have real life insecurities about this. And to educate oneself or just to show somebody that who you are is already strength. Just take away the doubt. See the strength within you. See the power from within yourself. Trust it. Act on it. Trust that nature that you have within you. That is a form of strength. That is immensely important in one's personal life. So when you face adversity, when you face hardship, you say, "I emphatically believe in myself." Not kind of, I emphatically know that I can get through this. No matter what happens in my life, I know for certain that within me there is great strength. That is important to educate kids and to educate oneself, to know that. So this is how it's helped my personal life. Even my lowest of lows and my highest of highs, Kung Fu and martial arts has been a constant, a constant.
Yeah. Yes. And belief in oneself is of the utmost importance. If you can't believe in yourself, the funniest thing, one of the one of the earliest pieces of advice that my older brother ever gave me, like back in the 80s. If you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will. If you don't respect yourself, nobody else will. So respect yourself and believe in yourself so you can get much further. Okay. All right. That
No,
was
but Sifu Winter, look, it has an effect because it's true. Look how long it stayed with you. It has an effect because it's true. It has an effect because it's true. You know, there are so many kids that I deal with on a daily basis that have doubt. And when you know about a positive self-image, when you know to believe in yourself, when somebody calls you stupid or ugly or a bad name, or somebody comes on your podcast and tries to be a troll, whatever it is, you look in yourself and you say, I don't believe you. I don't care what you say. I don't believe you. That is a power that I believe every child should have. Because being told that you're stupid or that you're ugly or that you don't matter, sometimes kids believe this stuff. And I believe as teachers, we can just listen and say, thank you for sharing that. But is that true? Can we look at that together? Is that true? And we see that it's not. And I believe that this is an important part of Kung Fu. How can you learn Kung Fu if you don't learn how to stand up for yourself? You learn all this Kung Fu, somebody calls you a bad name and you crumble. You learn all this Kung Fu, somebody says one little thing to you and you go into a rage. Again, the question comes up, did you learn Kung Fu?
True. It's true. It all begins with the self-confidence, the belief in yourself.
This is powerful, though, is it not, Sifu Wynter? Having a center within inside of yourself is powerful, and this is the essence of fighting, of Kung Fu, in my opinion. This is the essence of it, and most everything we discuss will come back to this in one shape or another. In the world of that I operate from.
It's very true. It's very true, Sifu Brinnand. And I do thank you very much for that answer. So with that, one must always think, right? You must have a center and you must always get up. Keep on going. Do not stop. Very good mentality to have. So the next question. This is going even more cerebral. So if you could teach the new generation of martial artists only one thing, it could be technique, it could be philosophy, what would it be?
Okay. When you do something wrong, do you know that it's wrong in your heart? When you're doing something wrong, doing something you're not supposed to, do you know that it's wrong? I ask my kids this all the time and they say, yes, yeah, I know that I'm doing wrong. Act in accordance with that nature. Act in accordance with that part of you that knows right from wrong.
That is a very good answer.
That's the one thing I would leave my children with, my kids. A part of you, a part of your nature, without being told, knows the difference between right and wrong. Act in accordance with your nature.
Because inherently, we do know what is right.
You see, Sifu, we do. We do. You know it. You can feel it in your bones. You do know. Act in accordance with that.
Sifu Brinnand, I'm going to be very honest with you when I tell you that that is a unique answer, and I am with it. Act in accordance with your nature.
Yes, Sifu Wynter. Correct.
That is an absolutely awesome answer. Right? If that was, I can't say it any better than that. That is a great answer. Act in accordance with your nature. All right. So, last question for you.
Yes.
And how can you be contacted, Sifu Brinnand?
Where I can be contacted is Iron Wire Martial Arts, and that's in all platforms. I'm Iron Wire Martial Arts, which is the name of Tidsinkyun. Tidsinkyun is the last form you learn in Hongao, which translated is iron wire form. So my brand is Iron Wire Martial Arts. I have a YouTube channel, Iron Wire Martial Arts. My Facebook, you could look me up, Jacob Brinnand, or you could just look up Iron Wire Martial Arts, find me through there. Through Instagram, it's Iron Wire Martial Arts, YouTube, and I have one on Twitter. I don't really remember right now. I also got a couple books on Amazon. I have Young Master, Unlocking the Heart of Martial Art, and The Golden Thread. which is on Amazon now. So I got a couple books on there. One is for specifically for children because I work with a lot of children, which is Young Master, and the other one is more of a culmination of thoughts after 15 years of meditation on the martial arts called The Golden Thread.
Awesome. Awesome. That is absolutely incredible. So, contact information for Sifu Jacob Brinnand will be in the description down below. Also, in the description down below will be links for Jacob's books that he was just speaking about, all on Amazon as well. Also, will be a link for Feiyue shoes. If you need Feiyue shoes, go ahead and click the link down below. Get the best prices, get the best deals, all at Feiyue shoes. Sifu Jacob Brinnand, thank you very much for the time that you've taken to speak with me, sir.
Hey, Sifu Winter, I'd like, if I may, I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, please.
I would like to say something. I think that you are incredibly smart. I think that your students are very lucky to learn from you. I think that what you're doing by be interviewing the martial arts community and helping spread awareness of these different styles and systems, I think it's greatly helpful because we need more proponents in the martial world. So I just wanted to let you know that I deeply respect you. I appreciate your time. And thank you very much for having me today. I appreciate you, sir.
Wow. Thank you very much, Sifu Brinnand. Wow. I'm flabbergasted. I don't know what to say to that, but thank you very much, sir. I will try and continue doing what I'm doing because I love talking to everybody and thinking about martial and not thinking, talking about martial arts, right? Because that's the thing. More people look at Chinese martial arts and because they don't know, they look down upon them. Well, little do they know that Chinese martial arts have been around for a very long time and it precedes a lot of the things that they're doing right now. So, this is more
Do
of
you
a
see it that way though? Before we leave, do you? I want to ask. Do you see it that it's disparaged, that it's looked down upon? Do you see it that way?
yeah, yeah, yeah. When people think about kung fu, they think of movies and they think of performance rather than practicality, rather than effectiveness. And much to my dismay, but that's what you can what you're going to do about it. Try and spread, news and try and spread knowledge, and to let people know that hey, this stuff actually really did work. It stayed around for a reason, right? So there is practicality in the Chinese martial arts, and apart from the history and apart from the art itself, you know, it's a tradition that has been around for a reason. So,
No, I agree, Sifu Winter. I think that Chinese Kung Fu, depending on how you use it, how you condition it, is extremely effective. And also, as one gets older, here's the thing I would like to say too. As one gets older, how many 40-year-old, 45-year-old, 50-year-old kickboxers you know? They do exist, but do you still want to be getting hit in the head super hard at 50? Most boxers don't last that long. It's dangerous. It is super dangerous after you become, I'm in my 40s, right? It becomes dangerous getting hit in the head over and over as you get older. So at the end of the day, I've known many masters of Muay Thai and many masters of fighting. I've known many champions and not many, but I've known my teacher was a world champion. You don't want to fight as you get older and older and older. So at the end of the day, follow your passion. Follow your passion. How many, people practice Muay Thai all the fines. I say, how many street fights have you had? Zero. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, Kung Fu, depending on how you use it, is highly effective. But don't let other people influence you so much. If anybody's listening to this, don't believe the hype. And also, why not a mixture? See, I teach my kids kickboxing, and then as they get older, I start teaching them tradition. So their foundation is fighting. And as they get older, they learn forms, and then they learn forms and fighting. And I think a hybrid is also good. We mustn't be so close-minded as to shove Kung Fu away.
well, as we had established earlier as well, a martial art is living because a living person is practicing it, right? But just like everything that's living, it's subject to change. So martial art has to change, has to evolve
Has
over
to.
time.
Has to. It's actually, in my opinion, you didn't get it correctly if you did not. See, in Kung Fu, they say, now, you said each other foot. In Kung Fu, they say, try to preserve it just like your teacher did it. But how many masters in their older years added new material? A lot. How many masters, once they really achieved a high level, 30 years, so and so, they changed it. Some teachers jumped higher, some teachers were more agile. But the principles were preserved. This is what we were to say. So it has to change. And it would be wrong not to. I agree with you.
So, Sifu Jacob Brinnand, thank you very much for teaching me about Hong Kyun, for letting me into your mind. And thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Sifu Wynter. I appreciate it.